I, Chachi Julu Senior, do solemnly swear that my testimony that I come to give with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Liberia is the truth, but nothing but the truth, so help me God.
Please be seated.
Please be seated.
Good afternoon, Mr. Witness.
Good afternoon.
We want to welcome you and express our appreciation to you for honoring the invitation of the Commission to come and share your experience of the past with the Commission and the people of Liberia. As you know, the TRC grew out of the Accra Peace Agreement, and it was necessary after a long period of conflict for us as Liberians to sit together, discuss the past, find out what were the problems, understand the past, and provide a basis for national reconciliation. And we feel that all Liberians who take up their time to come and share their experiences and explain their role with the Commission are performing a patriotic duty to their country and making a significant contribution to reconciliation. So it's against that background and the fact that you have been around during this period working with the government of Liberia, and there have been some political and military situations connected with you, we thought it would be appropriate for you to come and address the Commission on this. So we say thank you, and you are most welcome. At this time, I will introduce commissioners who are here now to you, and following that, you move into your presentation. Commissioner Sheikh Kafuma Cornell, he sits at the right end of the flank. Commissioner John Stewart, and then Commissioner Pearl Brambu, who went out a while ago, and Commissioner Martha Washington will be joining us during the course of your presentation. I am Jerome Fredio. Thank you for coming. You are welcome, and it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, fellow citizens, ladies and gentlemen, I thank the Almighty God who has given me the opportunity for my appearance before this historic gathering. I will address issues covering the periods from 1983 to present. Nima Ray, 1983. In 1983, I was away in Freetown, Sierra Leone, on a business trip. At the time, I was serving as PPF Director in Yekipa Lanco JV Operating Company. When some criminals, bandits, went to Lanco and staged a raid in order to burglarize the bank, to get away with funds, to enable them purchase arms and ammunition, to overthrow the constituted government of the late President Samuel K. Doe. These bandits were D.K. Wong-Siliet, Eugene Kedas, Samuel Doki, Joe Cooper, Cooper Miller, Cooper Tiet, and others. In that raid, they killed the chief of CID of PPF, Major Edwin Odrick, Agent Joseph Frumo, and David Jala. They further went to my house and also killed my security officer, Arthur Gay. My nephew, Prince Ajay, shot my son, Chaji Julu Jr., to include the Chief of Operation PPF, Samuel Zulu. who and my son survived from the bullet wounds. On that afternoon, it was announced on BBC that the chief of PPF home in Yekepa, Nima County, Liberia, was raided by some armed men. It was quoted that some of the PPF chief family members and security personnel were killed. The managers of the hotel I reside in informed me that there was problem in Yekepa, Nima County, Liberia, and that some of my family members were killed by armed men. Upon hearing that, I immediately rushed to the airport, where I took plane for Monrovia. Upon my arrival, I went to the executive mansion and informed the president about the incident. In reply, the president told me that he has already been informed and that I should not take the law into my own hand. The government was investigating the matters. When I arrived in Yekepa, I was taken to the hospital where my son was lying in a pool of blood and the bodies of those that were killed showing to me. I then arranged with the head doctor for the transfer of my son to West Germany for proper medical treatment. Chaji Julu Jr. and the head doctor were taken to Germany on the KLM flight. The bodies of those that were killed turned over to their respective family members for burial. I went on to do my normal duty based upon the directives of the president. I did not say anything to anybody. 2 years later, on 12 November 1985, the invasion of General Thomas Kuwangba, took place in Monrovia. After General Kuwangba announced to the world that he has taken over from the late President Samuel K. Doe, some of his kinmen went on a rampage in search of me and my family members again in Yekepa. Fortunately for me, I was not home or either in office when these armed men arrived in Yekepa. It was at that time I received a radio call from my deputy director, Soma Bima, informing me that D.K. Wonsele, Eugene Keda, Joe Cooper, and others were in search of me, and that I should remain wherever I was. Mr. D.K. Wonsele and his armed men went to my house again, met my wife, arrested her, stripped her naked, and raped her, and alive killed my husband, George Gay. After raping and killing, those armed men went to the PPF headquarters where they arrested the radio operator, Captain Nelson Cooper, naked her, put her in their vehicles, and drove away. I was again informed about these armed men acts by my deputy director. After having been told, I ordered the AFL detachment commander, Colonel Vlad, in my capacity as chairman of the Joint Security in Nima County. And in that process, they attacked the soldiers in a change of gunfire. He, Wonsley, and some of his men met their untimely death, and their bodies were brought to the headquarters. Later, I went to my house where I met my wife naked, unconscious. I took her to the hospital and later fled her to Freetown for medical treatment, but she later died. Looking at those situations from 1983 to 1985, I decided to resign my positions 1986, both in private and government. Back into the military 1987. In August 1987, I received a directive from the late President Samuel K. Doe that I should report to the executive mansion immediately. Upon my arrival, I was told by the President that I was reinstated into the active service of the Armed Forces of Liberia, AFL, and that I should report myself to the Defense Minister to be commissioned and for the supplies of uniform. Subsequently, I was commissioned as Brigadier General and assigned as Battalion Commander for the Executive Mansion. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I want to clarify here on the statement made by Prince Y. Johnson that I, Charles Julu, Senior, killed his brother, D.K. Wonsley. Such information is false and misleading to the Liberian people and the world. In a book published by Prince Y. Johnson entitled The Rise and Fall of President Samuel K. Doe, on pages 28 and 29 respectively, and I quote, I'm quoting him, "It can be recalled that in 1983, when General Kumbat was dismissed from the army, a group of his kinmen, both civilian and military men, urged him to stage a coup against Doe, but he refused to do so. These men, acting on their own, went to Lanco Joint Venture Operating Company in Nima County and staged a raid. Their goal was to burglarize the bank and catch away money which they could use to purchase arms. In their attempt, they started ethnic reprisal by going to the homes of Lanco Chief of Security, Chai Julu, and killed all of his children and one major Audrey of the Plant Protection Force. Chai Julu was out of Lanco at the time. The second paragraph of page 28. When government forces arrived, the leader of the raid, Brigadier General Robert C., First Lieutenant Cooper Tier, and the Sawyer Constitution Commission's co-chairman, D.K. Wonsley, and Eugene Kida of the Liberian Immigration Service were rounded up, except Kopotier, who escaped while the rest were killed along with other innocent citizens of Nimar. Mr. Chairman, the second paragraph of Prince Johnson is a lie. The death of G.K. Ponselier, Eugene Kidder, and others occurred in 1985 when he again went to Yekepa and carried out his wicked deed by going to my house, naked my wife, rape her, my husband, kill him. I met him, his trousers were down, they have him in a butt, and my wife was taken to the hospital, and later on she was flown to Sierra Leone. Prince Johnson, he possessed demons, and that demons is a lying demons. Prince Johnson possessed demons, and that demons is to go around killing innocent people when the war was going on. And he came here to say that I, Charles Zulu, was catching high times in the prison compound, and I sent my wife in his office to beg for money, which is a lie. My driver is here in the crowd here. One day I received a telephone call, and he told me, "Oh, General, I want to see you." I said, "Where?" He said, "Anywhere of your choice." I said, "Well, we can do that in your office." He said, "Yes, fine. Come to my office on Monday, 11 o'clock. I got dressed and went to his office. I shook his hand as brothers and friend. He was confused. What he called me for, he never stated it. And in that office, I carried 3 bodyguards with me, but all his office staff were present in his office that day. And he only told me that the people sent for him to Lutheran Church to give a speech. And that speech concerning the massacre of the people in the Lutheran Church. So I said, "Well, look, my man, I have nothing to do with Lutheran Church issue. When the Lutheran Church issues were occurred, I was out of this country, and I'm going to brief the people, the audience. I said, I was out of this country. I left this country July 4th, 1990. And Lutheran issue, according to information, happened in August 15, 1990. I was then in America, carrying out my usual business. So this what happened from that. He said, "Well, I'm supposed to go to a meeting and we'll see again." And I left his office. Surprisingly to me, he came here and said that I went to his office to beg for money, which is a lie. However, he possessed demons of lie. Mr. Chairman, On December 24th, 1989, we heard that unknown armed men from the Ivory Coast has entered Butuo, Nima County, and attacked civilians. The AFL commander and his men were also captured and killed by those armed men. So then, Liberia now in war with the rebel. There are so many commanders that were detailed by the Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Henry X. Duba. The first commanders were General Edward Smith. The second commander was Colonel Hezekiah Boyne. The third was Gabriel White Johnson. On March 28, 1990, I was detailed by the Commander-in-Chief to replace General Gabriel White Johnson in the front line because of his illness. Upon my arrival in Ganta, I took over from command from Colonel David Nimle. When I took over command, every citizen of Ganta and foreigners alike has fled the city for fears of tailored men and government troops. What one could see in the streets were only domestic animals. In April 10, 1990, we were attacked by the NPFL rebel, and that attack was repaired by the government troop. The alleged dumping of children into the world in Ganta, a diabolical lie by Prince Johnson again. And I want to make this clear to the Liberian people that lies will not build this country. And I know that there are others who are trying to damage good people's reputations because of their ethnic background. Rumors has been circulating from 1990 up to present that I, Lieutenant General Charles Julius Sr., dumped little children into the world in Ganta. Lied. While serving as frontline commander for government troops to combat the NPFL rebel, in the month of April 1990, the BBC reporter Elizabeth Brum was on her way to the Ivory Coast. She paid me a visit at my command post and interviewed me. I am blessed with 19 living children and a lover of children. Where did I get those children from that accordingly, allegedly I dumped into the world in Ganta? Bunch of lies. When there was no civilian present upon my arrival in Ganta, if this information were true, the BBC reporter would have informed the entire world at the time she visited me, because we still have in our midst some Liberian. Prince White Johnson and his men in Sanikode. In 1990, while we were in Ganta, we received report that Prince White Johnson and his men were killing the Mandingos and his own tribal people in Sanikode that refused to join his fighting foes. After receiving that information, I detailed Colonel Felix Carmine to proceed to Salinkule to repel the rebels' attack and rescue the civilian. After the rebels were flushed out of Salinkule, Colonel Carmine came back to Ganta with 3 trucks loads of civilians, loaded with civilians, and they were dispatched to Banka, bomb counted for safety. While we were still in Ganta, we received another military intelligence report that Prince Wyatt Johnson and his men were bypassing our positions heading for Banka, bomb county. Upon receiving that information, we immediately retreated to Banka, bomb county. That's where he attacked us, and we repaired that attack, and Colonel John Kriku got shot and killed. While we were in Banka, I received a call from the president that I should report to the mansion immediately. In June 1990, I was appointed to the positions of Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of Liberia, AFL, succeeding General Henry S. Juba, who ran away. On July 4th, 1990, I was sent by the late President Samuel K. Doe to his friend and brother, the late and former Sierra Leonean President Joseph S. Momo, to assist with arms and ammunition. But when I arrived in Freetown, I was informed that President Momo was out of the country. During my stay in Freetown, the Sierra Leonean Army Chief of Staff accommodated me in the army barrack. While I was in Freetown, I received information that the NPFL rebel has taken the city of Monrovia. From Freetown, I went into exile to the United States of America. Lutheran Church compound massacred in Monrovia 1990. I'm making this allegation clear here today. On the 1990 Lutheran Church compound massacred in Monrovia, Prince Johnson said that Doe and I, President Doe and I, we were standing up, and when the massacre was going on, lie. As I stated earlier, I was not in Monrovia during the times of the massacre. Whosoever have said or can say that she or he saw me at the time of the massacre, such a person is wicked and have been deceiving the Liberian people and the global community. Therefore, the allegation leveled against me by Prince Wyatt Johnson and others is a diabolical lie. Mr. Chairman, taking over of the Vacon Executive Mansions in 1994, I want to clear on that. I returned from the United States of America in 1994 and arrived in Monrovia on September 14, 1994. Upon my arrival, I immediately took over the Vacon Executive Mansion because the tenure of service of the interim presidents were over, and secondly, I did not want for Mr. Taylor, Charles Taylor, who was NPFL leader, heading for the capital city to have taken over the affairs of the country through the muscles of arms. During my takeover, there was no bloodshed, intimidation, looting, and any harassment of peaceful citizens. After peacekeepers' equipment were paid the foreign money, I was flushed out, arrested, investigated, and sentenced. My release from prison came when angry crowds stormed the post stockade during the April 6, 1996 crisis in Monrovia. Contact made by Mr. Carney Johnson. In 1997, Mr. Carney Johnson, who was my former boss in Lanco, approached me to help talk with some of the AFL commanders so that the AFL personnel could vote for his sister, Marlon Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, during the 1997 presidential and general elections. Mr. Taylor won that elections, and after he took the oath of office, he received the information that I influenced the AFL personnel and they voted for Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in the 1997 general election. Because of that, during the September 18 and 19 crisis in 1998, Mr. Taylor sent some of his armed men at my UN draft residence to have me killed. But with God above, I survived that attack also. Even when I left Monrovia and went to Conakry, Guinea, in exile, Mr. Taylor again sent some of his armed men to have me killed, but those that he sent were arrested by the Guinean security officers. Mr. Chairman, I finally want to make some clarification here on the 1973 incident. I want to make this clarification because people are making comments and thinking that I am part of that coup plot, and which is false. Government bribed me to become state witness in 1973 treason trial. In the year 1973, I was asked and begged by the Minister of Justice of the Republic of Liberia, Honorable Clarence Simpson, Jr., to testify against the late Prince Brown and William E. Sidi, both officers of the Armed Forces of Liberia, versus the government of Liberia. In the alleged treason trial, as government principal witness, in the presence of General Bian Deva Keseli, then commanding generals of the Armed Forces of Liberia, the late Honorable Frank E. Toro, Sr., Senator of Moserado County and President Pro Tem of the Senate, Honorable Nathaniel Baker, Director of the Executive Action Bureau, EAB, and Colonel Victor Stewart of the Armed Forces of Liberia. I was given an amount of $2,000 by Honorable Simpson Jr. He also tutored me what to say in the treason trial involving the two AFL officers. I was again promised by Honorable Frank E. Toro to be promoted to the rank of major, and also According to He Turbo, his brother, the late President William Richard Turbo Jr., would promote me and give me certain amounts of money to travel with my family members to any country of my choice. I refused the offer on the ground that I did not want to lie on anybody as a God-fearing man, because I did not know about any coup plot involving the late Brown and Seddy, and for my refusal to become government witness, the commanding general ordered Colonel Stewart to have me confined at the post Turkey until otherwise ordered. The late Honorable Frank E. Turbo ordered that I should be placed in close confinement and that they were still going to use me as one of their witnesses. After I spent 2 weeks in prison at the post Turkey, I was then sent for by the Justice Ministry. When I arrived at the Justice Ministry, I was taken in a conference room where I met Honorable Clarence Simpson Jr. and Colonel Victor Stewart. Again, I was tutored by those 2 government officials on what ought to say in the tracing trial. When I took the witness's stand in court, I state witness for government, I told the judge and the jurors that I received bribes from the government in the amount of $2,000 and was promised by President Turbo through his brother Frank E. Turbo, the Minister of Justice Clarence Simpson, and other officials of government to lie on Prince Brown and William E. Seddy. I also told the court that I have no knowledge of any coup plot to overthrow President Turbo-led government, but was told to lie. After my testimony, I was jailed at the post Turkey and later dismissed from the army, thrown out of the government house. Mr. Chairman, I want to say here many thanks for the opportunity given me, and I thank the audience for their undivided attention. And this is what I know doing from 1983 to this present. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Witness, for your presentation to the Commission, covering all that you know and what you have experienced, and in a lot of ways trying to dispel lies and rumors about what has been said about you previously. Now that you have made your presentation, we as commissioners should be asking some questions so that we can get clarity and so that you can throw more light on some of the issues that have been raised. And I'm sure we may have some issues to raise ourselves. So with your indulgence, we'll take a break for 1 hour and then we'll return thereafter for the question and answer.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Hearing Officer, we will resume at 3:30.